December 19th, 1944, 4:47 in the morning. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. Temperature, 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Private First Class Vincent Romano had been tied to the same oak tree for 36 hours. He was 40 feet off the ground. He couldn't feel his feet. His hands barely worked. And somewhere below him in the frozen fog, 23 German soldiers were moving through the trees. He had 6 rounds left. He did not climb down. In the next 36 hours, he would fire those rounds and 80 more. He would kill 87 enemy soldiers without moving from that position. He would shut down a critical German supply route at the height of Hitler's last major offensive. And when it was over, the United States Army would give him a formal reprimand and quietly rewrite their sniper doctrine based on everything he'd done. His name appears in no monument. No street is named after him. This is his story. Vincent Romano grew up in Red Hook, Brooklyn, 3 blocks from the waterfront. His father unloaded cargo ships. His mother cleaned offices in Manhattan. By the time he was 12, Romano was hunting pigeons off tenement rooftops with a borrowed .22 rifle, selling them to restaurants for 15 cents each. By 14, he could hit a tin can at 200 yards with iron sights. While other kids played stickball in the streets, Romano spent his afternoons on rooftops studying wind patterns, heat shimmer, the way temperature affected bullet drop at distance. He learned to stay completely motionless for hours at a time. Pigeons, he discovered, have excellent vision. Move too fast and they scatter. Move slowly enough and they never see you coming. He enlisted 3 days after Pearl Harbor. The Army noticed his shooting scores immediately. Expert marksman on first attempt. Every round inside the bullseye at 300 yards. They sent him to sniper school at Camp Perry, Ohio, where the instructors taught doctrine. Shoot and relocate. Never fire more than 3 shots from one position. Enemy counter-snipers triangulate muzzle flash. Stay in one place, you die. Standard operating procedure called for constant movement. New position every engagement. Survival through mobility. Romano listened. He understood the logic. He also understood that doctrine was written for open battlefields, not forests, not desperate defenses against overwhelming force. He said nothing, not yet. By December 1944, he had been in Europe 7 months. Normandy, Saint-Lô, Hurtgen Forest, 38 confirmed kills all by the book. Shoot, relocate, survive. He'd watched other snipers die when they stayed too long. A man named Miller, taken out by an artillery shell 16 minutes after firing from a church tower. Sullivan killed when a mortar barrage collapsed the barn loft he was in. The lesson was clear. Mobility was life. Then came December 16th, Hitler's last major offensive in the West. 28 German divisions smashed through American lines held by 4. In the first 6 hours, 41 German battalions hit 7 American ones. Units scattered. Communication collapsed. Romano's squad, 12 men from the 99th Infantry Division, retreated into dense forest south of Rocherath and dug in on a hillside overlooking a logging road. Good defensive position. Clear fields of fire. Trees for cover. Then the Germans started using the road. Not the regular Wehrmacht, the 12th SS Panzer Division, Hitler Youth, fanatics, moving fast through American positions toward Malmedy. Squads of infantry, half-tracks, motorcycle couriers. A constant flow pushing men and ammunition forward into the offensive. The squad had 3 days of ammunition. No resupply possible. Radio destroyed in the initial barrage. They were completely alone. Standard doctrine said, withdraw, evade, rejoin friendly lines. Sergeant Patrick O'Brien from South Boston worked construction before the war, took nothing from officers or Germans, looked at the road and said no. Too many Germans between here and American positions. Movement meant contact. Contact meant death. Better to stay hidden, let them pass. Romano had a different idea. That night he approached O'Brien. Sergeant, he said, the logging road, I can shut it down. O'Brien looked at him. You stay in one spot, they'll find you. Mortars, artillery, counter-sniper, you'll be dead by noon. Maybe, but I can make that road unusable. Force them to find another route, slow their advance. O'Brien pulled out a cigarette, didn't light it. How many shots are you thinking? As many as it takes. Command says 3 shots maximum from one position. Command isn't here. A long silence. O'Brien finally lit the cigarette. I'll deny this conversation happened. You do what you think is right. But if they come for you with mortars, you're on your own. I can't spare men to pull you out. Romano nodded. Understood. He spent 2 hours that night preparing. Found a massive oak tree 60 yards behind the squad's position. Climbed in darkness, testing each branch for stability, for sight lines. Found a place 40 feet up where 3 branches intersected. A natural platform. wide trunk behind him for cover, branches around him for concealment, a clean view of the logging road 800 yards away. He tied himself to the trunk with parachute cord, arranged pine boughs around his position, stacked 20 rounds where he could reach them without moving his body, set out his canteen, field rations, an extra wool blanket. The platform was 3 feet by 4 feet. He would live in that space for the next 3 days. His hands shook as he worked, not from cold, but from understanding. If German mortars found his position, the tree would become his coffin. 40 feet up, no quick escape. Shrapnel would shred him before he hit the ground. He stayed anyway. December 18th, 6:23 in the morning. Romano had been in position since 4:15. Frost covered everything. He'd wrapped his face except for his eyes, covered his scope lens until needed, eliminated every source of visible signature. The first Germans appeared at 6:47. 6 soldiers moving south, SS by their insignia. Young, 18, maybe 19, rifle slung, 2 of them laughing about something, casual, behind their own lines, safe from American interference. Romano let them reach the middle of his field of view, 830 yards by his estimate. He removed the cloth from his scope, acquired the lead soldier, adjusted for a 3-mile-per-hour crosswind, and fired. The soldier dropped instantly. The other scattered, diving into snow on both sides of the road, firing blindly at the hillside, nowhere near Romano's actual position. Sound traveled poorly in cold air. At this range, in daylight, they had nothing to triangulate from. He kept firing, methodically. Pigeon hunting on Brooklyn rooftops. Different scale. By the time the survivors broke and ran north, 5 of the 6 were down. 6 shots. 90 seconds. He waited. 23 minutes later, 15 German soldiers appeared from the north, advancing cautiously, an NCO directing them. They'd calculated approximate direction, but nothing precise. Romano let them reach the bodies. They clustered together, examining the dead, trying to read bullet trajectories. It was an amateur mistake. Good soldiers spread out. These grouped up. He fired into the cluster. Then again. Then again. By sunset on December 18th, Romano had fired 34 rounds and achieved 29 confirmed kills. The logging road was empty. Not a single German soldier visible in either direction. That night, O'Brien climbed up to his position with water and rations. "You're out of your mind," O'Brien said. "You know that? Probably. They'll figure out where you are. Bring up mortars." Romano ate cold K rations, hands too stiff to open the can properly, as long as it takes. O'Brien looked at the empty road below. "You shut down their supply route. That's something. It's a start." December 19th, 4:47 in the morning. Temperature had dropped to 4 degrees. Romano's feet had gone numb around 2 a.m. His hands barely responded. He stayed. The Germans came at dawn with 23 soldiers in proper tactical formation, skirmish line, 20-yard spacing, using available cover, better trained than the previous day's groups. An officer directing them with hand signals. Romano waited until they committed to crossing his kill zone. Then he started shooting. The officer died first. Leadership elimination. Formation collapses into confusion. Romano worked left to right across the line. Fired. Worked the bolt. Acquired the next target. Fired. Smooth, mechanical. 11 down before they identified his general direction. Return fire started hitting the branches around him. Bark fragments filled the air. A round passed 6 inches from his head, close enough to hear the supersonic crack. He kept firing. 16 down. 7 escaped around a bend in the road. The Germans changed tactics. They brought up a machine gun team. 2 soldiers wrestling an MG-42 into position behind a fallen log 850 yards north. Smart. Suppress his position with automatic fire. Send infantry to flank. Romano saw them setting up, shot the gunner. The assistant grabbed the weapon, shot him too. But now they had a precise fix on his location. Every muzzle flash for 36 hours had given them better triangulation data. At 11:17 in the morning, he heard the mortars launch. 4 tubes. The distinctive thump, 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 thump. Flight time roughly 12 seconds at this range. Romano pressed himself against the trunk and made himself as small as possible. First salvo hit 40 yards short. 4 explosions sent snow and frozen earth geysering upward. Shrapnel whipped through the air. The Germans were walking fire toward him. Second salvo, 20 yards short. Tree branches above him disintegrated. The oak shook from the concussion. His ears rang. The third salvo should have killed him. It never came. American counter-battery radar had picked up the German mortar positions and called in 105mm artillery. The mortar crews evacuated before completing their fire mission. Pure luck. He knew it. He stayed anyway. December 20th, Romano had been in position 64 hours. Hypothermia was setting in, confusion, drowsiness, slurred thinking. He recognized the signs. He was dying slowly from exposure. The road remained empty. At 7:34 in the morning, the Germans made their final attempt. 41 soldiers, full platoon strength, supported by 2 half-tracks with mounted machine guns. They came fast, trying to rush through his kill zone before he could engage effectively. Romano started firing before they entered optimal range. 900 yards, rounds dropping into the lead elements. Soldiers fell, the half-tracks accelerated. The first one reached the cluster of bodies from the previous 2 days. Romano put 3 rounds through the driver's vision port. The vehicle swerved, hit a tree, stopped. Soldiers poured out the back. He killed 4 before they reached cover. The second half-track kept coming. Romano switched to the gunner, visible behind his weapon shield. First shot missed, second shot hit. The machine gun fell silent. Now it was infantry only. 41 soldiers reduced to 28, disorganized, pinned. Their attack had failed before it reached its objective. Romano kept shooting. At 8:09 in the morning, the survivors retreated north, dragging their wounded. The logging road was littered with bodies, a burning half-track, the wreckage of 3 days of failed attempts. Nothing was going to move down that road. At 2:47 in the afternoon, American reinforcements from the 2nd Infantry Division reached O'Brien's squad. The German offensive in that sector had stalled. Romano climbed down from his tree at 3:15 p.m. on December 20th, 1944, 72 hours and 28 minutes after he'd climbed up. 114 rounds fired. 87 confirmed kills. His legs collapsed when he touched the ground. O'Brien caught him. "You did it, you crazy bastard." Romano said nothing. He just stared at his hands, still gripping the rifle. The debrief came the next morning in a farmhouse 5 miles west. A captain and a major sat across from Romano with notebooks and maps. They asked him to walk through the engagement. He described it without emotion. Position selection, fields of fire, target acquisition, ranges, kill counts per contact. "Just facts," the major interrupted. "You maintained position for 3 consecutive days?" "Yes, sir." "Despite standing orders requiring relocation after 3 shots maximum?" "Yes, sir." "You violated those orders knowing the consequences?" "Yes, sir." Romano met his eyes. The tactical situation required adaptation. The logging road was a critical enemy supply route. Abandoning my position would have allowed unrestricted German access. That's not your decision to make. You're a private. You follow orders, not create new doctrine. With respect, sir, command wasn't present to assess the ground truth. I made the decision I thought would kill the most Germans and save the most American lives. The room went quiet. Outside, artillery rumbled in the distance. The question in that farmhouse was simple. Punish initiative or reward results. The major stood. Results matter. 87 enemy casualties from 1 position represents exceptional combat effectiveness. He walked to the window. Here's what's going to happen. A official reprimand in your service record. A letter documenting your violation of standing orders that follows you for the rest of your military career. Romano nodded. But no court-martial, no reduction in rank. And we're forwarding your case to Division Sniper Training for tactical analysis. If your methods prove replicable, we may need to revise doctrine. The captain added. To be clear, you got lucky. Those mortars should have killed you. We can't encourage soldiers who think they know better than command. But we also can't ignore effectiveness. Doesn't make you right, makes you useful. Romano walked out with a reprimand in his file and the quiet understanding that he had changed how the army thought about snipers. By February 1945, Division Sniper School had added a new training module, Extended Position Sniper Operations. They didn't name it after Romano, but every sniper who went through that course learned his story. In March 1945, the Army published revised sniper doctrine, buried in Section 7, Subsection 3, Paragraph 4. In defensive positions with confirmed friendly support and favorable terrain, snipers may maintain static positions beyond standard 3-shot limitations. Legal permission to do what Romano had already done. The manual cited combat analysis from winter 1944-45 operations. No names, no specific battles, just the quiet acknowledgement that sometimes staying put kills more enemies than moving. Romano went home to Brooklyn in the summer of 1945. He got a job as an aircraft mechanic at LaGuardia Airport. Quiet, methodical work, nobody shooting at him. He married Teresa D'Angelo from the neighborhood in 1948. They had 3 children. He told them nothing about the war until they were adults. Every year on December 20th, he called Patrick O'Brien. They'd talk for 20 minutes. Families, jobs, ordinary life. Sometimes O'Brien would say, "You still crazy?" Romano would answer, "Every day." Neither mentioned the oak tree or the logging road. They didn't need to. In 1989, a military historian tracked Romano down wanting to write about Ardennes snipers. Romano declined. Nothing to tell. "I did my job. We won. That's the story." The historian pushed. "Your technique changed doctrine. That's historically significant." Romano thought for a moment. "Lots of guys changed doctrine. Most of them died doing it. I got lucky. Not much of a story." The historian never published it. Vincent Romano died on February 3, 1997, aged 74. Heart attack, at home in Brooklyn. Teresa found him in his garage, sitting in a chair. The funeral was family and neighborhood friends. A few old men from the 99th Division made the trip. O'Brien came down from Boston, 76 years old, walking with a cane. At the reception, Romano's son Joseph asked O'Brien what his father had been like in the war. O'Brien considered the question. "He was the bravest man I ever met, and the calmest. When everything went to hell, he stayed focused, did what needed doing, never talked about it." Romano's daughter Maria asked, "Did he do anything important?" "We know he was there, but he never told us what he actually did." O'Brien smiled. "He saved a lot of lives, maybe hundreds, changed how the army thought about certain tactics, but he never wanted recognition for it." Why not? Because he didn't do it for recognition. He did it because it needed doing. O'Brien told them everything then. The oak tree, the logging road, 72 hours, 87 kills, the mortars that should have ended it, the reprimand, the doctrine that changed without his name on it. When he finished, the three children sat in silence. Romano's widow Teresa had been listening from nearby. She approached and sat down. "He had nightmares in December sometimes," she said. "He'd wake up shaking, wouldn't talk about it. I asked him once. He said, 'I killed a lot of people. Some of them deserved it. Some were just kids following orders. I don't know how to feel about that.'" O'Brien nodded slowly. "That's the difference between soldiers and killers. Soldiers remember who they killed. The logging road still exists, paved now, part of a regional highway in eastern Belgium. Tourists drive it without knowing. There is no monument, no marker, just road through forest." In 1994, a Belgian military historian found references in German unit records. The 12th SS Panzer Division's war diary mentioned enemy sniper activity, December 18 to 20, resulting in supply route modification and significant casualties to reconnaissance elements. He tried to find the name, redacted in every available document. Classified under personnel privacy regulations, he published his findings anyway. An unidentified American sniper operating near Rocherath, Belgium, December 18-20, 1944, achieved an estimated 85 to 90 enemy casualties from a static position, demonstrating successful adaptation of sniper doctrine to defensive scenarios. No mention of Private First Class Vincent Romano. No mention of Red Hook, Brooklyn. No mention of pigeons on a rooftop, or a boy who learned patience before he learned war. Just the method, the results, and the quiet evolution of how soldiers think about their work. The oak tree is still there. 60 years of growth, but the same tree. 3 branches intersecting 40 feet up. A perfect position for watching a road 800 yards away. Nobody remembers why it matters. Just another oak in a Belgian forest. Home to birds and squirrels. Not a memorial. Not history. Just a tree where a Brooklyn mechanic's son spent 3 days doing the hardest thing a soldier can do. Staying in place when everything says run. If this story stayed with you, subscribe and leave a comment below. Tell us where you're watching from, or which forgotten soldier's story you think deserves to be told next. We read everyone.